Hello and welcome back to Into Vietnam. In the next 15 minutes, you will be updated the latest business news across the country in the headlines. Vietnam aims to sell the first bad debt in the third quarter of 2014. The Consumer Price Index is 0.04% in Ho Chi Minh City in April. And local businesses should actively take advantage of the ASEAN Economic Community. The Vietnam State Asset Management Company aims to start selling bad debt from bank in the third quarter, stepping up efforts to overhaul lenders and spur economic growth. The asset manager known as VIMC has bought about 45 trillion dong or $2.1 billion of bad debt and plans to purchase about 15 trillion dong more between now and the end of June. Vice Chairman Nguyễn Quốc Hùng expected the first debt to be sold in the near future, hopefully next quarter, but did not disclose the amount as the debt is being evaluated and classified. Mr. John Shi Han, Managing Director of Capital Services Group, said the VMC will have no chance of selling bad debt anywhere near the book value. The VMC is pushing ahead with detailed proposals to the central bank to complete the necessary changes in the legal framework to facilitate the formation of a debt market. The company has received inquiries from foreign investors with an interest in the bad debt it has bought, but most of them just wanted to be the middleman. If there's anyone who really wants to spend money to buy debt or any collateral from the VMC, the company will be willing to discuss and facilitate to make the purchase happen. In related news, at its 7th annual board meeting on April the 23rd, the Joint Stock Commercial Banks for Foreign Trade of Vietnam, or Vietcombank, aims to bring its bad debt level to 2.73% and sell 1 trillion dong of bad debts to the VMC. It's revealed at the event the bank ramped up efforts to clear destructive debts in 2013, resulting in NPL ratio of 2.73%, while total deposits hit 334.26 trillion dong, up 16.3%, and total lending expanded by 14.8%, at 278 trillion dong. The VCB targets to raise its total capital by 11%, credit growth by 13%, total deposit by 13%, and bad debt ratio at no more than 3% in 2014. Its targeted pre-tax profit is 5.5 trillion dong, accompanied with the same amount of fund for debt provisions. And now the program will continue with noted information from the southern half of Ho Chi Minh City. Data from the Ho Chi Minh City Statistics Office showed April Consumer Price Index in the city edged down by 0.04% from March. This is the second consecutive month of CPI fall in the city. Last month, CPI dropped by 0.46% on month. In the downside, prices of housing and construction materials reported the highest fall, which released by 1.24% this month. In the upside, 3 out of 11 baskets of goods contributed to the calculation of CPI data saw their price highs this month. Of note, Ho Chi Minh City April Consumer Price Index increased by 4.49% on year, thanks to high contribution of price hike in the education basket, which jumped by 57.52% since April 2013. Not included into the price calculation, prices of gold dropped by 1.4% and prices of US dollars eased by 0.12% this month. The TC Index of Industrial Production slid by 6.6% on month, but edged up by 0.04% on year in April. Earlier, Hanoi reported this month's CPI increase of 0.12% on month and 6.27% on year.
According to the Ho Chi Minh City Center for Forecasting Manpower Needs and Labor Market Information, Ho Chi Minh City will need more than 25,000 workers in May, mostly skilled and trained. That is 20% higher than in April. The need is for 10% with university degrees, 40% with college or vocational diplomas, 35% with high school degrees, and 50% trained workers. The demand has risen especially in the fields of economics and business management, information technology, finance banking, auditing, accounting, tourism, food staff processing, and construction. Demands for workers with high school degrees plunged from 60% in March to 35.39% in April, with businesses preferring skilled and highly trained workers.
(2014-2015) is the sprint stage of ASEAN member countries to establish the ASEAN Economic Community or AEC, which is expected to be formed by the end of 2015. It's the right time for businesses to actively prepare and quickly update with information about the potentials of AEC. More in our business report.
At present, ASEAN is negotiating the general agreement with 6 partners in the FTA ASEAN Plus One, including Japan, China, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, and India. It will bring great opportunities for businesses when Vietnam intensively integrates into the ASEAN Economic Community, which is expected to be launched by the end of 2015.
Tôi nghĩ cái lợi thế lớn nhất mà Việt Nam vào AEC đối với đấy chính là nó mở cho cái việc là họ có thể coi Việt Nam như một phần của thực sự của Đông Nam Á. Tức là họ có thể là mở cái nhà máy hay là làm việc một cái văn phòng có thể ở Bangkok hay ở Malaysia, Singapore, nhưng lại có thể là có một cái công xưởng hay là một cái trang trại hay là một gì đó ở Việt Nam. Thì nó thuận lợi là tôi nghĩ là cái thuận lợi nó phải nhìn ở trong cái cùng có lợi là như vậy.
Although AEC is expected to bring more opportunities for Vietnamese exporters, these businesses were faced with a lot of competition challenges in terms of goods, services, investment attraction, faced up with trade protection measures and high demand for quality of goods and services.
Gần 20 năm qua thực hiện cam kết trong ASEAN và các cái diễn đàn khác thì đã hết sức quan tâm và đã triển khai những biện pháp nói đơn giản là bảo hộ đến mức tối đa các sản phẩm mà nhạy cảm đối với chúng ta. Thế tuy nhiên là khi chúng ta hội nhập tham gia sân chơi chung thì chúng ta cũng không thể bảo hộ mãi mãi được. Và chúng ta cũng sẽ phải đến lúc nào đó mở cửa dần ra. Thì vấn đề không phải là chúng ta chờ đến cái ngày đấy và xem tình hình nó thế nào, mà vấn đề là chúng ta chuẩn bị để tham gia phát triển nó có hiệu quả hơn trước cái ngày mà chúng ta sẽ mở cửa.
Ms. Phạm Thị Hồng Thanh, head of the Asia Pacific Market Department, warns that in addition to explore markets to increase the export values to potential AEC market, businesses themselves should be active.
Cái nữa mà tôi muốn gợi ý với cả doanh nghiệp là một cái mảnh mà gần như là một cái khoảng mà còn trống. Đấy là cái khoảng mà hàng halal. Đấy, hàng hóa phục vụ thực phẩm halal cho người Hồi giáo. Thì tôi thấy là ở Việt Nam chúng ta các doanh nghiệp mà sản xuất những cái sản phẩm halal này còn rất ít và cũng chưa có cái nghiên cứu sâu về cái thị trường này, mặc dù là cái số lượng người Hồi giáo ở cái khu vực ASEAN này cũng tương đối lớn.
Chúng ta là cái người mà gia nhập cái cuộc chơi là sau, cho chúng ta phải muốn thu hút thì chúng ta phải thu hút những cái ngành mà nó chưa bám rễ ở đâu cả. Mà những ngành chưa bám rễ ở đâu cả thì chỉ là những cái ngành mới trong quá khứ nó chưa tồn tại. Thì tôi thấy là hiện nay cái nỗ lực của chúng ta, ví dụ như kêu gọi một cái sản phẩm rất là mới là smartphone của Samsung là một ví dụ để cho thấy như vậy, bởi vì trước đây độ 10 năm, 20 năm thì nó chưa tồn tại cái sản phẩm này. Thì bây giờ tôi nghĩ là chúng ta phải nhìn hướng vào như vậy. Đấy chính là một cái lợi thế của Việt Nam là người đi sau.
According to data from the General Customs Department, in the last decade, Vietnam-ASEAN trade turnover quadrupled from $9 billion in 2003 to nearly $40 billion in 2013. In recent years, ASEAN has always been the third largest export market of Vietnam after the US and EU. Apart from the direction of the government, the Ministry of Industry and Trade emphasized that the active participation of business community will play the vital role for the success of the global economic integration in general and the intensive integration into the ASEAN in particular.
Coming up next in the program is some foreign trade news. The General Statistics Office estimated Vietnam earned $45.74 billion from exports, while bought $45.05 billion of goods between January and April. up 16.9% and 13.7% respectively, and resulting in a trade surplus of $700 million. In April alone, Vietnam exports stood at $12.2 billion, of which more than $8 billion come from the FDI sector, accounting for 66% of total exports. Imports hit $12.6 billion with the FDI, accounting for $7.4 billion, or 59% of total imports. Key export items in the first 4 months include telephone, garment and textiles, electronics and spare parts, while major import goods are machine and equipment, electronics and spare parts, and crude oil.
According to data from the Vietnam Food Association of VFA, Vietnam has exported about 1.38 million tons of rice during January the 1st and April the 15th, 2014, down about 36% on year. VFA says that the average rice export price so far this year stands at about $438 per ton at free on-board shipping points, down about $1 per ton from the same period last year. Asia is the major rice export destination for Vietnam rice so far in April 2014, accounting for about 105,000 tons, or about 60% of total rice exports. The Americas are the second largest destination, accounting for about 32,000 tons, equivalent to about 20% of total rice exports in April 2014. Vietnam also exported 19,000 tons of rice to Africa, about 6,000 tons of rice to Europe, about 1,600 tons of rice to Australia, and about 103,000 tons of rice to the Middle East in April 2014.
It's reported the Prime Minister has approved the master plan for Hanoi region's 5th ring road, which will be more than 330 kilometers long. The move came following the approval of master plans for the Hanoi region and the development of Vietnam's highway system. The ring road is planned to run through Hanoi and 7 provinces, including Hòa Bình, Hà Nam, Thái Bình, Bình Dương, Bắc Giang, Thái Nguyên, and Vĩnh Phúc. It will have 41 kilometers overlapping the Nội Bài Hạ Long, Hà Nội Thái Nguyên, Nội Bài Lào Cai highways, and National Highway No. 3. Total investment for the ring road is estimated at over 85.6 trillion dong, or $4 billion. It's scheduled to open to traffic by 2020. With either 2 or 4 lanes, and will expand it to 4 lanes on the entire route over the next decade. Wrapping up is a summary of Vietnam's gold prices, forex and stock market on April the 23rd. That's the end of the series. Thank you so much for your attention. Goodbye and see you later.